Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us for another session of the Deep Dive Training Sessions. The Deep Dive Training Session is for members of the Government Contractors Association. This is where you can come and really learn and get deep into government contracting and learn the specifics, not only from just a conceptual concept and idea, high level, but we're going to go into the details. What exactly you need to do to be successful as a business in the government market. So we've got folks joining us online as well as people here in the classroom. Welcome everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. Tonight's session is finding contracting opportunities. Now, all of our training is based upon our 5 Ps. Last few weeks, we've been going over the promotion phase, right? It starts off with the preparation phase. We go into the promotion phase, and today we are starting off with the proposal phase. So the training is going to be on the different types of contracting opportunities out there, and then we're going to go into the federal procurement process, how to find contracting opportunities, past, present, and future projects, and if we have time, we go to a little bit about grants. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're in a brand new session today, the proposal phase. And under proposal, we're going to be talking about opportunities. All of our training in the deep dive comes directly from the software. If you have the software, you can follow along. If you don't have the software yet, you can follow along with me. And if at some point you need to get the software, talk to me and we'll talk about how to get you the software here. So types of opportunities. Let me go ahead and go right into this here. I'm going to start off by a quick overview of how the government buys from you as a business owner. So we're going to start off with this PowerPoint. Now, what are contracting vehicles? Anybody? Any thoughts? GSA. That's a type of contracting vehicle. That's good. What's the definition of a contracting vehicle? Like a certain type of certifications. Certification is a type of contracting vehicle. What's the definition? How would you define contract vehicle?
Somewhere where you can actually do business with the government through a particular type of source.
Channel.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I like the word channel. I like a source. So let me go into my definition. There's no right or wrong answer, but a contracting vehicle is a contract type or method under which government agency utilizes to source out products and services from the commercial sector. So contracting vehicle is just a way of how they buy from you as a business owner. It's how they buy. Many different ways of how they buy. They buy through GSA schedules. They buy through using 8A certification. They buy through using women sole source. They buy through set-asides. They buy through credit cards. They buy through the open market. They buy through purchase order. They buy through micro purchases. They buy through SAP. They buy through sole source with large contracts. There's many, many different ways. So let's look into some of those ways there. Now the government has many purchasing processes. And one of the way how they buy is they buy through internal departments or internal contracting office. So DLA is a purchasing arm for the DOD. Anyone knows what DLA stands for?
Department of Logistics. I'm just guessing.
Okay, good. All right. Defense Logistics Agency. Yeah. So they are they buy on behalf of the DOD. External contracting agency, like GSA is a buying arm on behalf of all agencies, including DoD. Some state, some local city municipalities, they use GSA schedules as well. And GSA is just a contracting method that many agencies use them. They are a pseudo-government organization. GSA stands for? Government Services of America.
General Services Administration.
Okay, General Service Administration, yes. But that's a good answer too, Robert. GSA is a pseudo-government organization. Give me another example of a pseudo-government organization.
CDC?
CDC is full government.
Say that again,
A pseudo-government organization. IRS is a good example. What's another good example?
Department of Natural Resources?
The Postal Service. They're not a government organization. They're almost like a government, but they're really private sector in some ways.
DNR?
Which one?
Department of Natural Resources?
They're actually government. Big one.
Department of Health Services?
They're government. Who handles our money?
Oh, the Reserve. Federal Reserve?
Federal Reserve, yes. IRS, Federal Reserve, U.S. Postal Service, GSA, they're pseudo-government organization. They're not really government organization.
Department of Revenue.
IRS, yep. Department of Revenue is pseudo-government. They're not real government. Treasury Department, I think they are government.
I think GSA does not.
Contracting officers are another, are who they use to buy from you. The CO or the KO, which stands for contracting officers, or KO also stands for contracting officer. Why do you think they call it KO and not just CO? Mr. Military, what's CO in the military?
Commanding officer.
Commanding officer. About 50 to 60% of contracts are tied to DoD. So in the DoD, they tend to use KO because CO stands for commanding officer. So when you hear the term KO, it means the same thing as a contracting officer. The PCO, the TCO, the ACO, the CORE, the COTAR, all of these are different people on the contracting office. The PCO stands for Procurement Contracting Officer. The TCO stands for Termination Contracting Officer. Do you want to see a termination contracting officer at any point? No. They are only your friend when the project is done. And they're there to close out the project. But at any given point, you do not want to see the termination contracting officer. The CORE stands for the Contracting Officer's Representative, or the COTAR, COTR stands for the Contracting Officer's Technical Representative. So for example, there may be, Robert, you're in trucking, logistics. There may be a contracting officer that does the purchasing of logistics for, a specific agency. But the contracting officer does not understand any regulations to trucking. They don't understand that, as a trucker, you have to drive for so many hours, you have to rest, you got to have a driver's log, you got to have all these different things. But the technical representative, they understand that. So they got to make sure that you're in compliance as you're working on behalf of the government. Same thing with construction. Construction is another example. OSHA requirements, and there's all these different specialized areas. The technical representative understands those industry. The contracting officer may or may not know. And so in the event that a contracting officer does not know the technical requirements, they usually bring in a representative. And the technical rep might be a subcontractor, a commercial company. It could be somebody in logistics that's in the commercial world. Typically, most of them are employees of the government. Obviously, you must register to do work for the government. One way government buys is through credit cards, or sometimes we call it smart cards, purchase cards, or P cards. What's the general threshold for federal credit card purchases? What's the amount, the maximum amount that most contracting officer can swipe a credit card? Yeah, 25,000 or less. So if you got a project that is $40,000, can they swipe a credit card? The answer is yes. They break it up into two phases or two parts. So that's smart, right?
Right.
They don't have to put it out in procurement. If you say, oh, well, there's two phases to this, or there's two different components to this here. And so, like in medical supply, they can order one part first and order a second order, and they can break it up that way. So there's different ways. A contract officer, if they can avoid paperwork, they can do different things like that. Micro purchases. What's the threshold for micro purchases?
10,000.
No, that's a SAP.
For 2,499. No, one of them is that though. It's
yes. It's micro purchases is generally 3,500 or less.
Really?
SAP. What's SAP is? What's the threshold for SAP?
You said 3,500 or less.
Yeah.
Oh, they changed it?
The SAP is simplified acquisition procedures. What's the threshold for that? 150,000.
Something right and wrong.
Yes. Now, what does it mean if a project is SAP? What does SAP mean? Instead of the word simplified acquisition procedure, what does that mean itself?
Less paperwork.
Yes, it's designed for less paperwork. And SAP contracts, any project less than $150,000 must go to small businesses. That's what's important to you, right?
As a capital.
And anything larger than that, they can go to anybody. But generally, if it's federal contract, not only federal, I'm only speaking from a federal perspective. If it's an SAP project, it must go to small businesses. Other types of contracting vehicle is IDIQ. IDIQ stands for indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. GWAC stands for government-wide acquisition contract. MAC, multiple award contract. MAS, multiple award schedules. FSS, federal supply schedules. All of these different acronyms, you don't have to worry too much today. I just want you to be exposed to it, that there's different ways of how they buy from you. BPA, blanket purchase agreement. BOA, basic ordering agreement. MATOC, multiple award task order contract. SATOC, single award task order contract. And set-asides, which is the most important for all of you small business owners out there. Set-asides are for small businesses only. Generally, set-aside is a 23% goal with the government, and large or prime contractors are required to set aside 35% to subcontractors that are small businesses. The most important contracting vehicle for you as a small business is what? Sole source. Sole source is a direct award to one company. 8A is a sole source up to, if it's $4 million or less, they can sole source it to an 8A company. You don't have to bid on it, compete on it more so. You do need to submit a proposal or a quote, but you don't have to compete with anybody else. If they choose your company, that's it. That's all. You just need to be chosen. Now, who's won a sole source contract before? Nobody yet? You have?
That one that I just got for the sound.
Yeah, they didn't open it for competition. They just came to you and said, hey, can you do this?
And then they talked to Nancy and like that.
Yeah, woo, awesome. Your first sole source? Can you tell us how much it was?
It's small, but
Doesn't matter.
it was 27,000.
27,000, awesome. Woo! Yes, way to go. So that's your first sole source.
That's my, well, this is what happened. I got that one. Then I got two more last week, and he did all of them under my 8A.
Yeah.
So So one was 38,000.
Okay.
900. Another one was 21,000.
Okay.
And then this one. So all three of them, I guess you would consider to be sole source because he went through Challengegov.
Yeah, yeah. So 3 sole source in a week and a half.
In 2 days.
In 2 days. Wow. There you go. Hey, you know what? That's how you roll.
But I've been working with this guy, like, sending him posts. I sent him a lot of posts.
Yeah.
I diligently work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you earn your keep, right? Mm-hmm. Sole source is the way to go. That's what 8A, right? 8A, women-owned also, but most of the time sole source is done through 8A.
Yeah, these were 8A.
Yeah. GSA schedule, there's 35 types of GSA schedules out there. There's GSA STARS 2, there's FSSI, Federal Strategic Sourcing Initiative. That's usually where they buy paper, pens, markers, those type of things. Like anything the office supplies, like Office Depot have, they generally buy through FSSI.
What's the GSA STARS 2? I never heard of that.
STAR 2 is an 8A program. So if you have an 8A certification, STARS 2 is only 8A companies can get into STARS 2 program. But I think that's coming to an end. So they're, yeah, so they're probably going to move on to other things.
And are they renaming it or something? I just never heard of that.
Yeah, because that was awarded a few years ago, and it's usually good for like 5 or 7 years. And then only companies that are approved into STARS 2, 8A, STARS 2, can bid on a certain types of contracts. There's NetSense, there's iTest, there's Encore, there's Alliant, VET, GWAC, Oasis, Ability One, and all these different things. Now, don't get overwhelmed by this here. The way you want to approach contracting vehicles is this. Identify the agency that you want to work with. Find out what type of contracting vehicles they like to use and get familiar with those. You don't need to know all these different things here. So if you want to do work with GSA, you need to know GSA STARS, you need to know FSSI, you need to know GSA schedules, you need to know GWAC, you need to know Oasis. Because that's how GSA, those are the contracting vehicles tied to GSA. If you want to do work for the Federal Aviation, they have their own, I forget what their favorite contracting vehicle is, but everybody has the favorite ways of how they buy. CDC, what's their favorite way? They like 8A. So just depend on which agency. Just for quick reference, Ability One, anyone knows what Ability One stands for? Ability One is mainly used by Goodwill Industries. And if you hire a percentage of your workforce that are those that have certain needs, like those that have blindness, or those that have some type of disability and challenges and so forth, and that makes up part of your workforce, you can go after Ability One contracts. So that's another type of capabilities and contracting vehicles you want to put in place. Vet First program, this is for the VA. The VA has a Veteran First initiative. And if you want to do work for the VA, you want to get your SDVOSB certification or your VOSB certification. That's the best contracting vehicle for the VA.
You have to be a veteran for that one?
Yes. Finding opportunities, past awards. This is too small to see, but the main one you want to use is usaspending.gov or fpds.gov. So those are the two main ones you want to use for past awarded contracts. Now, why is it important to know previously awarded contracts? What is it?
So you'll know kind of the baseline with your totals and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's happened in the past allows you to predict the future, right? 70% of contracts are renewal contracts from the past to projects now. Did you catch that? 70% of project that's available now are not new issue contracts. They are renewal from the past to projects that you can bid on right now.
You said USA spending.gov.
FPDS.gov. FPDS.gov. And there's a few other ones, but those are the two main ones. Finding present opportunities. I'm not going to talk about this here because all of you should be on what platform? Gov Directions, right? Who's now on Gov Directions? Everybody's on Gov Directions. That's good. Pam, great job. Woo! Making sure everybody's on Gov Directions. So finding current opportunities. FBO is the main one for federal. State of Georgia is the Georgia T Marketplace. Every state has their own database. But for most of you, or all of you who are members of the association, you, as a member, you have Gov Directions, which is a bid matching platform. You just set up your profile, and it is sent out to you. But all these are other resources here. Now, there's some paid services, which Gov Direction is the one that you guys have. It's about $500 to $600 a year, and you guys have for just being a member of the association. So at some point, you can thank Pam, because she works really hard to make sure that Gov Direction is available for everybody. Now, future opportunities is awesome, right? Future projects are called forecasts. The regulation says that government must make forecasts available for small businesses competition. So they got to make forecasts available for business to bid on. The easiest way to find forecast projects is just Google the agency you want to do work with. So for example, forecast GSA, and just put that in there. Just put in the word forecast and the agency you want to do work with.
Oh, so would you do that for FEMA?
You can do that for FEMA.
Would you put that in there just out of curiosity?
Okay. Please. Forecast contracting opportunity. This is GSA. You click on that. They have to make that available for you. And you come on here and go to their tool. Now this is the end of the year, so forecast there's not going to be a lot out there because it's the end of the fiscal year. And you have to register. Used to be where you didn't have to register, but now you have to register. So you will register as a non-federal government public user. Click on this here. Come to the gateway. The one thing I like about the forecast is that it usually gives you a budget range. Like this first project here, replacing existing computer room AC unit. So they're looking for AC unit, and they tell you that, okay, hey, the budget is $24,000 to $34,000.
So now do you have to have a GSA schedule for this, or this is just forecast out there?
Sometimes it's open market, and sometimes it is GSA schedule holders only. It depends on the project. They will tell you that.
But
forecast doesn't tell you.
Does the project have to be on your schedule? Is that one of the things that, is it kind of like
No.
in its own sense?
No, if it's open market, you don't have to have a GSA schedule if it's open market.
No, what I'm saying is, like when you get a GSA schedule, you know, you send in all your things, and you get a letter of supply from different companies saying that they will supply you unlimited.
Yes, if you have a GSA schedule and they say that they're only looking for a GSA schedule holder and you don't have this as part of your product, then you can't sell this to the government.
So it has to be a part of your product?
If it's a GSA schedule only. If it's open, then anyone can bid on it. If it's GSA schedule, it has to be part of your approved products that you're selling to the GSA.
Okay, so this right here.
We don't know yet at this point.
Hmm.
This is still in the forecast, so they're not saying what method they're using at this point.
So the one over here that said general service administrators, women owned is where they.
See the acquisition strategy to be determined. This one, they said this, they want to set aside for women owned.
Right.
Gotcha.
And you can see, correct, small business. You can see how they want to do it, right? At least gives you an idea of how they want to go.
And you didn't put a certain thing in it, you just put in GSA forecast,
Yeah.
and it just bring up whatever's out here.
Mm-hmm. All right, so FEMA forecast.
But then you gotta be certified with FEMA for this one, right? I know, it depends.
So this one is for FEMA. Now some of these sites are really old, so you always want to double check, make sure it's current stuff. But this one it is. So anticipated award quarter is 2018. Ooh, over $100 million.
Yeah, what difference?
One
Do they
project.
require different states?
Are they what?
Are they requiring like different states to do all these different storms and hurricanes, like say Houston, for instance? Do you have to have a certain criteria for that particular area?
Sometimes, yes. A lot of FEMA contracts, if you look at the FEMA, like I looked at one last week, they were buying 1 million cans of fruit cocktail. 1 million cans of those. But they say in the requirement, it says you must be a Texas-based company. So
you need someone there.
yeah, so you bid with someone there. That's one way of how you can go about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how you find forecast. Just put in the agency name and the word forecast, and that's generally how you go about finding it.
They don't have an 8-day forecast.
Nope. All right, so that's that there. Let's come back. So we talked about all these different types of contracting vehicles. So the government, they go through multiple stages. They go through a need. They go through a budget phase in terms of now, for example, Zika virus. There is an outbreak of Zika virus in Puerto Rico and parts of Central America, Mexico, and so forth. And now they've detected a few cases in Florida, Miami area, in Texas, and so forth. If that's the case, they're going to say, well, hey, we need to put out a plan to stop the spread of Zika into North America. So they had to create a need. Congress had to create a budget, appropriation for the funding, and then CDC put out a forecast of when they're going to spend it. They have to do a market research of who can do the work, and then they put it out for solicitation. And those are the first 5 steps that they go through. In the example of Zika, they're looking for epidemiologists. They're also looking for pest control companies. They were hiring pest control companies to spray mosquito repellent and mosquito killing agents along the highway on the border of Texas and down towards Florida and Georgia border. So they were looking for companies to spray. So different types of opportunities that way. But the market research phase normally comes out as a source is sought. This is the point where you can win sole source contract. If you're waiting until it becomes a solicitation, it's a little bit too long. It's a little bit too late, more so. In the solicitation phase, you are submitting a proposal. and then they will have a source review board, and then you're going to get an award. Then they make sure that they manage the work that you perform on it, they make sure that you're in compliance, and they make sure that you close out the project. So that's the 10 steps that they go through. Any questions about the 10 steps that an agency goes through to engage you as a business owner? Okay. So we talked through past, present, and future opportunities. I want to address a few, just a few tips. So if you're searching for opportunities, you want to come to here, and you want to look at the most current one. So you want to look at the last 7 days, and you can put keywords in here. And I'm going to put in trucking here and just search. So there's 147 projects that has the word trucking in it in the last 7 days. And these are the different projects. Who wants to do tree removal at the cemetery? Anybody? Here's one here. This is a... Hey, you want to go do some hauling in the Congo?
I will.
Yep.
I get to choose the pigs and let you choose your weapons and your rifles.
So this is a project. So this one was canceled. So you come here and you look for a project. Now you can actually do more specific search if you want to. But all these are different projects. To do specific, you go to advanced search. And you can come in here and say, okay, I only want to do work in Georgia. And narrow it down that way. And then you can say, hey, I only want to find sources sought, solicitation, or pre-solicitation. I don't want to look at award or anything else.
So the solicitation and the pre-solicitation, can those be sent to your BOS? I'm talking about I'm just saying if I'm noticing one. No,
it's too late. Yeah, generally pre-solicitation maybe, or sources sought, yes. But the solicitation, they usually have determined what direction they want to go already, and they don't want to go undo things.
Hey, I can't even see what site you actually pulled up.
This is fbo.gov. And then I want to narrow down by NAICS code. So, Robert, you know your primary NAICS code? You can cheat, all right. So transportation is 484. So I'm going to check 484, trucking, long distance, short, general freight, specialized freight, transit, ground transportation, mixed mode, rail, maybe not rail. So that gives us a little bit. The NAICS code? I did a Control F because there's too many NAICS codes. So I did a Control F and then I just type in trucking. What industry are you in? Okay, yeah. So you can, if you know your NAICS code, you can just type in your NAICS code. The Control F allows you to find it very quickly without having to scroll through everything. And then I'm going to search to see how much projects are in trucking in Georgia. Nothing. Oh, this is 2013.
Oh, wow. They didn't know better than that?
Yeah, there's nothing active in Georgia right now. But if you do, Texas, Florida, there's probably lots down there. All right, so now let's sidetrack a little bit and let's get into grants. Now, in the government world, there's two arms to the government world. There's the grant world and the contracting world. Where do you think they spent the most money? Grants or contracts?
Contracts.
Grants. More money goes to grants than it does through contracts. Contracts is about, in fact, let's look at, because I only know from a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So I'm going to go USA spending, and I'm going to show you exactly how much they awarded in grants and how much they awarded in contracts. All right, so contract is this orange here, right? That's contract. Grants is the green. So 2017, let's look at last year. Contracts last year, 2016, is 473 million. Grants is 668, not million, but billions. 668 billion. Contract, 473 billion. So there's more grants than there are contract opportunities out there. The purple is other financial assistance, and that.
Education, federal prison.
Yeah, it's totally different. So loans is this little blue chart way at the bottom down here. $2.4 billion was made out loans to businesses.
So on that grant thing though, how does that work exactly? I mean, you know what I'm saying? How do are people trying to get grant money, or I don't quite get how that works.
Let's dive deeper into this here. So contracts are for-profit purposes. That's generally contracts. Hey, come on in. Contracts are for-profit, and then grants are non-profit. Generally, that's the case.
But people actually use the NPOs.
Yes, they can use non-profit organizations. They can use, they can use non-government organizations. There's different ways of how you access different things. For most of you, you're going to be looking at contracts because you're in business for a profit. So you're going to look at 99% of the time, you're going to look at contracts. Now, there are some situations where you're going to look at grants even as a for-profit business. Anybody doing research on any new technology? Anybody?
Well, I've done grants before, but not from technology, but from the scientific aspect.
Okay, yes.
My partner, I both with PhDs, so
Mm-hmm.
written grants for our labs in order to fund.
Yeah. So there are grants tied to for-profit purposes. And who's heard of SBIR or STTR? SBIR and STTR grants are designed for if you have a technology, you have a new idea, you have a product that's not in the market and you want to put it into the market, the government will give you a grant. And you apply for a grant, and these grants are designed for-profit purposes, but they are a grant. So let's look at a few of the success stories. Mango material. I don't know what this is, but I'm going to look at it. Okay. So Mango material, they got a 7.6 million phase 3 grant. Methane gas, which is over 20 times more potent than carbon dioxide, is commonly produced by waste in landfills. So they got their first phase 1 grant in 2012 from the National Science Foundation. And they're going to produce a polymer from methane that could be converted into eco-friendly plastic products. That's what they want to do. And they went out there and got this grant. So, but it goes from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. Phase 1 is just research. I've got this idea and I need a little bit of money to do research on it. Phase 1 is usually somewhere 75,000 to 250,000 to 500,000. That's usually phase 1. Phase 2 is usually 500,000 to 750 to $1 million. Phase 1 is usually less than 250. Phase 2, a little bit less than $1 million. Phase 3 could be, phase 3 is commercialization of the product or the service. And so that's phase 3. Let's see if there's another example. Explo Safe. Canines use a variety of places to detect. So this is for testing kit comprised of peroxide detection strips that are used for detecting liquid explosive. Someone came up with the idea. They got $3 million in it. Or they've made over $3 million in it.
That's what the government gave them to.
No. That's how much revenue they generated since the governments are giving them grants.
Do they pay the government back any money?
It's a grant. You don't pay back. That's the beautiful thing about grant. No need to pay back.
Taxpayer dollars.
Excuse me?
Taxpayer dollars.
Well, it's
stipulation though,
yeah.
like just like what they use for homes, type of grants, and you don't sell the house and so forth within so many years, you don't owe anything.
Mm-hmm.
Try to profit right behind it.
I think about California, they make them money.
Well, no, grants are given everywhere. You don't have to be in California to receive grants.
That's where they go now. Silicon Valley.
Well, because they're doing a lot of research over there. And they're using grants as a way to fund their for-profit endeavors. So this company, they wanted to create a glass to help with color blindness tests. Pretty good, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty good idea. And let's see here. Kitware. Okay, let's see what this is for. To develop core video processing technology for different purpose. It's just a video processing, providing of mission video to other countries. Yeah, nothing special here.
What's that?
Yes, they sell the government on the soldiers.
website? You go on, like,
SBIR.gov. And almost every idea you have, there's probably a grant out there.
So I know this lady, but then that's been disappeared. She's like really trying to figure out how to get some government grants for like charter school. Would they have something like that?
Charter school is done through state. And what does the state want? Do they, are most state in favor of charter schools?
No.
Probably not.
They want to do public.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it hurts, in their view, it hurts the public school system.
Okay, so
Now, they don't care about whether it helps the students or not. Does it hurt the public school system? And the answer is yes, charter school hurts the public school system. And so it's very hard to get. Now, we'll look at another way of how you can get grants for like a charter school in a little bit, but probably, now, unless you created a process, like a training process that 50% of all students that go through the process will improve by 100%. Then you can probably get some type of grant for the process, and you can use it in a charter school, but it's going to be tough. Charter school is, you have to use a different method outside of grants through the state.
And the name charter is what's out there, so even if your model isn't charter, and you're using the word charter.
Yeah.
So would that be like a play on names then,
Oh,
or
something
some
different.
educational, or use another word besides charter?
Free brand.
Yeah.
Change the model, make it a charter.
Yeah.
Change the model, just tweak the model.
She's trying to do it. She's trying to ask me. I said, well, I don't know enough about all that.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I mean, in the educational, there's it's a closed system, and there's other ways. Another place you can get Challenge.gov. Who's heard of Challenge.gov? Challenge.gov is actually cool. They do some really fun stuff on here. And it's grants. It's for-profit, non-profit. It doesn't matter. It's open for almost everything. Ooh, gun safety challenge. That's what we need right now, right?
Exactly.
I mean, with what happened in Las Vegas, 59 people dead and over 500 wounded. So let's.
Gun safety, I don't know what that meant.
Yeah, that's the way he did that.
Yeah, not for his access that's in the internet that's saying this is how you turn this into an automatic weapon.
Yeah.
So is Challenge.com identifying the challenge that, I mean, what is this program?
So the premise of Challenge.gov is different agencies try to solve different problems out there. And they say, hey, you know what? It's kind of like in the technology world, they call it excuse me?
Like a troubleshooting?
Yeah, but they have a different terminology. They call it what's that? When they bring in a hackathon. It's like a hackathon. So in technology, they bring in they have a big hackathon and all these different smart people come together and they say, hey, you know, we need a software to detect something that's happening in the ozone. And within that one day, you get all these smart people, they break up into different teams and they all go to work and they create a simple solution. But the simple solution can be turned into something robust down the road. But they start off with the premise of an idea. So the challenge is agencies want to solve a specific problem and they put this out there and say, hey, we're going to give out this money if you can come up with the idea. And then they'll give money for that there. So this one is for gun safety, so let's see what they're saying. A safely stored firearm can mean the difference between a tragic outcome and a life saved. Though many veterans are well versed in gun safety, all veterans and their families should understand how to properly handle and store firearms to prevent suicide injuries or accidents. An average of 20 veterans die by suicide each day. 67% of veterans death by suicide. Statistic, blah, blah, blah. In response, the VA Challenge team has given the authority to seek solutions through an innovative challenge. The Gun Safety Challenge invites proposals for solutions that offer new options to enhance safe gun storage to prevent suicide. And if you are expert in this area and you have an idea and you just want to put your idea out there, first place get $30,000, second place 20, and so forth. Now, as you put this out there, what they're probably going to do is, if the idea is you get first place, second, or third, there may be additional grants to take that to the next step. And they may even create a contract opportunities or grant opportunities for you to take it further. So that's one example.
How do they determine whether you are an expert or not? What's the definition?
You don't have to be, it's just an idea. You don't have to be an expert in anything. If you have a good idea.
So can you do that for something like cancer research?
You can do that. There's almost everything you can imagine here. Fishing for fishermen. Ooh, I want to do this one. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. $26,000 to go be a fisherman. Okay, that's me. Campus Rainwork Challenge.
Do a lot of people, do they have a track of how many people look at that site?
They probably do.
This is good stuff, man.
I know.
I'm a problem solver. This might be my money pot.
Yep. Nutrient Sensor Action Challenge.
This might be it.
Yeah.
Now let's see here. Let's go to next page. So there's a passenger screening algorithm challenge. Long-term corrosion protection of existing hydraulic steel structure. A mobile app framework for field data capture. All kinds of different things on here. Some of them are interesting. Some of them, you know, hey. You want to go count the sea lion population? There's a grant for that. Innovative roofing solutions. There's a school meal program.
I got a cousin out in Texas that's in that school meal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she and her husband, they do pretty good with that. They do it in the summertime though.
Yeah.
Not at all. I'm gonna go look at it myself.
Face recognition challenge. Okay. Machine generation analytic products. Hypertension control challenge.
So if you wanted to search for something like breast cancer, would you just?
You can come in here and see if there is some type of grant in here.
Yeah,
But
do they have a search up there?
that's such a big field that you can get grants many other places. Like if you have an innovative idea of how to detect breast cancer or how to treat breast cancer, there's so many other places outside of this. This is probably not that place for that, because this is chump change here. With that, you're really going to look for some real grants, and you're going to have to go to the cancer research, the Cancer Society, is that it?
And it'll be the U.S. Cancer Research Institution.
Yeah. So there's other places where you can get more money than challenges for like fun stuff. Low entry, low barrier, high level conceptual idea. They just want to flesh out idea because this is called crowdsourcing. They know that by bringing many people together, they can get good results. And there's a lot of great ideas out there. Putting out $50,000 for a great idea to them is nothing. $5,000 for a great idea is nothing.
That's if they accept your idea.
Yeah, if they like your idea. They may not like your idea. You may be the only idea.
You submit your idea, even if you aren't picked, do you secure that they won't take it anyway? I mean,
Well, if you're submitting your idea And I am 99.9% sure that if you submit your idea, it becomes public information. Yeah, so if you're looking to protect it, you don't want to do this. Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess it's something you're planning on taking to the next level.
Yeah, that's kind of like research.
Right.
You can't publish it. You don't publish your paper until you at the end of it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know the inventor of the Super Soaker?
Yeah, forget his name, but he's been on 60 Minutes.
Yeah, he's a African American gentleman, lives right here in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I went to meet with them about a few years ago, and he is a rocket scientist before he was the inventor of the Super Soaker.
Right.
Lonnie Johnson, he was a rocket scientist, I think working for NASA. Eventually he said, hey, you know, I got this great idea, created the Super Soaker, patented, worked with the toy manufacturer, and became a millionaire through that. That's what he's known for, but most of his work is in the scientific world.
Right.
So I went to meet with him a few years ago. He created a battery, a car battery, that can take you from Georgia to California on one charge.
Man.
I've never let that happen.
Correct. I said, and so.
What you said? I've never let that happen. It was money.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's genius.
But he said that, you know, I said, so what's the update? He said, hey, all the car companies says they will invest in my technology if I say it only goes 300 miles.
Wow, so they said one in the line.
Well, they want him to slowly phase in the technology.
Right.
They don't just bam,
They
jump
don't
out
make
there.
they don't make the battery that goes that long.
Correct.
They make one that goes shorter. And then you sell it, and you make one go a little longer.
Correct.
They just keep on
It's like an iPhone. Like an iPhone.
Yeah, that way you can keep making money, right?
Like,
Like,
had this technology, but it was iPhone, it's out, they still got it. That was already out.
yeah, of course, of course. You got to make money. That's the free market capitalistic society, right? If you create a tire that keeps on going for 1,000,000 miles, do you think they want that in the market?
No.
Of course not. Correct.
And that guy Lonnie, somebody had did something different with his patent, and he just won a multi-million-dollar case against somebody for years.
Yeah, well, that's part of what I'm getting to. So I talked to Lonnie. It goes back to your comment earlier. What's your name, ma'am?
Janika.
Janika?
Yes.
So Lonnie had a idea, and he partnered up with, I won't call it the name because this session is being recorded, so I don't necessarily want to. I don't necessarily want to, go out there and based on Lonnie's side of the story. I won't name the agency, but he went and partnered with this agency, and they did some research together, and they have an agreement that in doing this research, it's the benefit of the results of the research is going to be on behalf of this agency. But the patent was going to be his. Well, they went in together, they created this new technology, and they took the patent. They said, hey, this is our patent.
Wow.
Even though he had it in his agreement that it's going to be his patent.
But they hadn't gotten the paper.
That's because he was a smaller entity, so they thought that they could keep him in legal fees while around it.
Yeah, that's usually most of the time.
Well, they do it all the time.
Yeah. And so he fought them and he sued them, and it was at that time it dragged on and on and on and on. So I don't. So the situation, I don't know if it's the same situation with Lonnie, but yeah. So yeah. So anytime you're dealing with the government, you're disclosing something to them. Make sure that you're willing to give it away.
Well, you got to do it. You need to do it.
With who?
Casper.
Okay, no, that's with the toy.
Oh, that's the old, okay.
Yeah, that's with the toy.
You need a good attorney.
Oh, he's got a good attorney. Yeah, but that's for all his toy inventions with Hasbro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's in the Smithsonian.
Yeah. So he's got his research lab is right in downtown Atlanta, And you know, he's doing some great things down there outside of battery research and a few other things. All right, so this is lots of information. So you can look for-profit grants for for-profit. Now let's talk about a few other ways of how we can get grants. Foundations. What are foundations? Foundations are usually, yeah. So foundations are, I would say my definition of foundation, it's a tax shelter organization.
Say that again?
Tax shelter organization. The Oprah Winfrey Foundation, the Arthur Blank Foundation. All of these different foundations, part of it is they have philanthropic goals behind it, but one of the purpose of these foundations is to shelter their wealth and to make their wealth go longer. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Part of Bill Gates' philosophy is, I want to spend most of my money while I'm still alive before I'm dead, right? But he's giving out billions of dollars every year, but every year he gets richer.
Exactly.
Right? So when he started his foundation, he was only in the 30, 40 billion dollar mark. Now he's like what, the 85, 90 billion. So every year he gets more and more wealthy. Can't give away money at that point, right? But his foundation, when you put your money into foundation, the rules for foundation says that you have to, the money that's in the foundation, you have to use a minimum of 5% to go towards the purpose of its intended mission. That's it, just 5%. And so if you have a $100 million foundation and you're giving out 5% of that, that's $5 million a year, right? That's pretty good, giving that out to people. But if you have a $100 million foundation, guess what kind of interest you're earning on that money? Probably 8, 10, 12, 15, 20%. So by giving 5% away, you're still actually growing the foundation money. It's kind of like college endowments, right? Universities and their endowments. They've got all this money, and it keeps on growing every year, even though they're giving out scholarships, but it keeps on growing, so they can keep on giving out more scholarships. And so foundation is used as more of a tax shelter. But they have to give away, my point with this is they have to give away 5% to their cause. So if you find a foundation that matches your cause, then that's where it can be a good match. So the Foundation Center is a great place. Who's been to the Foundation Center in downtown Atlanta? Anybody?
The Georgia Center.
That's separate from the Foundation Center.
Right.
Yeah. So the Foundation Center, they work with family foundations, the Walmart family foundations, or I guess not the Walmart, but the Waltons, right? All the foundations, the Foundation Center tracks all of the different foundations out there and what type of money they're giving out. And you can go find they're giving out money for research, they're giving out money for diseases, they're giving out money for homelessness, they're giving out money for almost every single cause that you can imagine. They're giving out money for that because every foundation have their own mission. And I was volunteering for this nonprofit organization, and we were trying to, there's this one foundation that we identified, and we wanted to build a relationship with this foundation so that we can get funding from them. And this organization is a organization that supports the Asian American community in the Southeast in terms of having a greater voice in the community. And so we went to this, they have about $700 million in their holdings. So they got to put out 5% every year. minimum. Many of them give out more than 5%.
Right.
But it depends on how they manage that money. If they manage that money well, they can give out more than 5%. Foundations don't want to deplete their resources, right? They want to grow their resources so they can keep on giving money out. So we went to them, and we had to build a relationship for 1.5 years. And the person came and met with us and watched our organization for 1.5 years before they funded our organization. But we started the dialogue, started the relationship, and there was they never told us that they were interested. They just said, oh, it was great meeting with you. And that was it. And then every few months we would follow up and talk to them. Most nonprofit, the mistake that they make is that they're a new nonprofit organization and they think that just because they have a good mission, money's gonna just start falling out and coming their direction. And that's not the case. You have to really build relationship with all these different foundations and all these different grant resources. And as you do that there, they want to watch you to see if you are a fly-by-night organization or that you're really serious about and committed to your purpose. And if you haven't been around for 3 years, they're probably not going to give you any grants, any money. That's usually the threshold for a nonprofit. So if you are part of a nonprofit, if you're a part or you have your own nonprofit, if you're doing it part-time, it's going to be hard. They want to see if is there a full-time commitment to this here. So they might give you a $2,000 grant, a $5,000 grant, maybe a $10,000 grant within if you're in your first 3 years, just to kind of see how you will handle that money. But if you are 3 years or older, they want to see that you have a full-time person or multiple full-time people in the organization to see if you're committed to the mission. If you have no one full-time in it, don't ask for the big grants because it's going to be, now build a relationship so that you can get there, but don't start off by asking for big grants. All right, so that's all the time we have today. So any last questions about finding opportunities? I know we went all over the place, but it's good stuff. If you're looking for grants, go to grants.gov. That's the best way. If you're looking for direct grants tied to the government, just like FBO is for-profit contracts, grants.gov is for nonprofit purposes. And there's a lot of good grants in here, so come and you have to be registered in SAM to access grants. Yep. So SAM is the same database that manages this here. Now, do you remember when you registered in SAM, it asked you, do you want to go after grants? Contracts only? Contracts and grants? I don't know if you remember that question in SAM. Yeah. And if you
can do, so if your foundation is under a different name, that you're registered in SAM, SAM's under your business name, you can still hit that without those grants.
No, you just, if you have a foundation or a nonprofit, go register your nonprofit in the sam.gov. Yeah. Yeah. That's how I would do it. All right, everybody. Great seeing everybody. Next week is our association meeting at 6 o'clock, so come for that. And we're going to be talking about how to find disaster relief contracting opportunities. So that's next week. I will see everybody next week. It's under, yeah, the proposal P, the third P, yes. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Take care.